Do you wanna know what's going round? See what's the talk of the town on Real Talk on the radio today.
And welcome to Real Talk Radio 97.5. You're listening to a live broadcast with the City of Northport's finest, the Northport MPD. First off, I want to talk with Chris Morales, Deputy Chief. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, John?
I'm good. So we've got two other guests, and I want you to take your time and introduce them.
Sure. With us today is Captain Scott King, and he is captain over our Special Operations Bureau, and Captain Joe Fussell, who is over our Patrol Bureau.
Fantastic. And we'll start out here with Captain Fussell here a little bit. How you doing, buddy?
Good, John. How you doing?
I'm good. So kind of describe your position in the police department.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having us on the show. Really enjoy being a part of your show and having these opportunities to talk.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So my responsibilities are I oversee the Patrol Bureau. We have 6 different squads, 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts, and we have 2 mid-shift squads. And it's 24/7, so 365. It's the backbone of the department, and the Patrol Bureau has 82 positions assigned to it. So it's the largest bureau in the police department. And our men and women, they're the first to respond. After our first responders with the dispatchers, we love our dispatchers. So we work with them, and we try to be, go out to these calls and help all the families as much as we can.
Fantastic. And I do have questions for you that I know the listening audience will definitely learn something from, but I'm going to introduce Captain King. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, John.
So what do you do?
So I am the captain over Special Operations, which encompasses all of your traffic units, your K-9 units, and your community policing and school resource officers. So that community policing also encourages people to kind of reach out, meet their public. They also work with the homeless outreach program that we have that works throughout the city with social services. We kind of work with the schools and do like the programs Shop with a Cop, which I'm sure we'll talk about more in a little bit. And then any special events, our units help coordinate and run all of those throughout the city.
Yeah, definitely got a couple questions for you too. I'm going to throw it back here real quick to Deputy Chief Morales. Anything you want to add in as far as what these guys do in supporting what you do and Chief does at the police department?
Actually, is the captains that you see here, they're 2 of 4. We have 2 other captains, and hopefully next month we'll bring Captain Harvey, who oversees criminal investigations, and Captain Gregory, that oversees professional standards in the Administration Bureau on board, so you guys can see all the different parts of the organization and what functions they run. But I can tell you, as far as the men and women in uniform, these 2 captains are the ones that oversee all the officers in uniform, and they're pretty much making sure that all the day-to-day operations, the goals and objectives carried out in the Northport Police Department from the Chief and myself are fulfilled and executed, and they do a great job too in ensuring that professionalism and community service is given to the fullest each and every day in our community.
Yep. And so, Captain Fussell, I'm gonna throw this question at you because I think it's one that you can hit out of the park, but 2, you probably get a lot. Is our coverage good in this city, and do people should people feel assured of what the police department is doing, even though we have some issues within the size of the building and different things like that we've been talking about? Can you give an overview of how that coverage looks to you and how important it is for the officers that work underneath you and the pride that they take in covering the city?
Absolutely, I'd be honored. First of all, I want to start out and mention that Chief Garrison and Deputy Chief Morales, they have some incredible foresight into the growth of our city and how the growth of our department dovetails into that, so that we can provide the best service to our community that we serve. They have this strategic plan, as we've already discussed with the police department headquarters, up to 2065, with the staff, with the study, with the staff on what our growth would look like as a city and how it would reflect with our staff, whether it be uniform services or support staff or investigative services, and the infrastructure we would need at that point. I mean, let's face it, law enforcement 20 years from now is going to be a lot different from law enforcement today. So they really do a wonderful job in having the needs of our department and the city in mind as they do that. As we currently stand, we wouldn't be in a good position without having that foresight, right? So it's an honor to work on a team that has the ability to kind of predict. Now, one of the items that I'm very proud of with our department is our RTIC, our Real-Time Intelligence Center, and the infrastructure we have to be able to see the crime trends, see what's going on within our community, where do we need to deploy our resources, so that we can target whatever trends that we're seeing, or even regionally or statewide, and we even track nationally and internationally to see what we need to do to be able to respond quickly, even sometimes before we try to predict as much as we can what might be coming down the road. So with the different tools that the chiefs have added to the department, allow us, Captain King and I, to deploy our resources that really support our goals with the department. So with that being said, our staffing, we aren't chasing crime. We are proactive. We support our officers, our men and women. We love our men and women. They're very proud of what they do. They handle all the calls proactively, and they seek out trends, and they seek out information that might help the department or even other departments in other jurisdictions. With whatever they might see for crime trends. And you mentioned, their pride. They're very proud. They're proud to wear the uniform. They're proud to be on a team, and it's something that it's wonderful to come to work every day and see our staff. We project. We treat everybody that we respond to every day as if it's our own family member that's in need of that call. So we never take that for granted.
Fantastic. I'm going to slide up to Captain King because I know we can kind of ricochet off of that conversation and go into some of the specialties that are out there. One of my favorites to look at and talk to the officers that do the drone unit. I've also, the speed units that are out there. But one of the things that you said that I just had a conversation not too long ago about was the resource officers at the schools. And I know there's been some change there. And I did ask, how's that relationship going with the new systems that are in play with Sarasota County school systems and our resource side? Because that is an important part of staying connected with, I think, the inner workings of the youth of our city. Can you kind of expand on all the specialty forces like that?
Yeah, as far as, so just to touch on the school resource officers, we have 3 school resource officers that are assigned to Northport Police Department that are in the schools at Imagine, and then the preparatory at Welland Park. So even though those are the schools that we touch, we still partner with the school board of Sarasota County, right, and all the schools in the city. We work through the Do the Right Thing program and work on kids that are doing the right thing, even when they're not being watched. We still partner with the high school and mentor kids through the Explorer program. So we're still reaching out through summer camps with Parks and Rec. So we're still encountering and mentoring children, even though we're not the SROs at those schools anymore. We still partner with the actual Young Marines out in Imagine and work with them. and partner with Teen Court. So we're helping kind of with the good and the ones that need a little bit more help throughout the schools. So as far as the other specialties, like you said, you kind of mentioned a little bit about the speed. Our traffic unit goes out, and they're out during the day and nighttime enforcing our state laws. They're also looking for the highly trafficked areas, looking to kind of moderate the speeds, keep people driving in a safe, prudent manner to reduce crashes. We're also out there at night looking for impaired drivers and trying to make sure that people can travel on the roadways in Northport safely.
One of the things I noticed, and I'm going to stay with you for a couple minutes here, is that 20 years ago, the bar stayed open until 2. I know they still do, but a lot of these establishments since COVID have changed their time frames. They're shutting down at 11, 12 o'clock now, which I don't know if it's that I got older and I'm enjoying it better, or that I've adjusted to all this stuff. Are you guys making that same adjustment? Have you seen the same thing I'm talking about?
We might see the establishments closing at different times, but just because an establishment closes doesn't mean that people don't find another place.
Sure.
So we still keep our hours later into the early morning hours, just keeping an eye on the roadways, making sure that people can still travel safely. You're looking at patrolling neighborhoods, looking for, we'll say, an increase in traffic for areas that are locally known for more parties, just to try to keep that where we can target proactively and look for those areas before it gets too late.
How are we using the drone units? That we talk about the technology side, and I love the fact that we're like leading the area in technology and kind of exploiting that, because anytime you can use technology to protect not just the citizens but our officers, that's a huge advantage.
Yep.
But can you kind of highlight the drone unit itself? I think that's kind of a really cool factor that people don't even know about.
Sure. So Commander Mike Layden runs our drone unit, and he has been instrumental in creating that unit and helping surrounding agencies. So our drone unit is used basically as a supplemental for patrol and special operations through good weather, bad weather. During the storm, you saw it kind of firsthand at the EOC. Yep. We've used it for before the storm hits to try to moderate and see where we're at with water levels. And then post-storm, we use it for site assessments, building assessments, and to monitor the flooding and the receding of water. On calls for service, for any type of call that's involving missing persons, we'll send a drone out, and that drone can cover a lot more area than your normal officers. It helps with when we have canine tracks to assist with trying to find missing children or missing adults. It also helps with when we're trying to set up an area before we have to put officers in, we can scope that area out beforehand and ensure that it's safe for people to continue going in that same direction.
And I'm going to slide back down to Captain or Deputy Chief Morales. The community service side of things, I know that Captain King said he was kind of on that side of things too, but we've got a holiday coming up, and I thought I'd throw it at you to kind of kick off the Shop with a Cop conversation. And yet we're going to go back in and have some other conversations along the way, but Shop with a Cop is a really important part of the connection back to the city through the police officers themselves. And it really, I think, draws a lot of people to the police department differently than ever before. And I think it's growing like every year. Just the pride in Shop with a Cop and the police force here in our city grows and grows and grows. Can you talk about the importance of that program and what it's made over the years for you being here?
I can tell you right now, Shop with a Cop, it's probably one of the greatest months of the year for us cops to give back to our community. to our young youth, to our families that are definitely in need during hard times where lots of families in our cities are unfortunate they're not having a Merry Christmas like many other families are having throughout the city. So it's that time to where we all come together as a community. We partner with our local businesses and our police officers get out there and connect with our young youth who are, I always say, are the future of our community. And to see that impact that we make the families, kids, uh, it's amazing just to see them go shopping, knowing that they have no money, but they're shopping for other people within their family to buy gifts. Um, it really touches your heart. I know both Captain King, Captain Fussell are very instrumental in raising money um, for Shop with a Cop, and every single year, both of them can tell you it grows and grows and grows to where more stakeholders, residents in our community are putting more and more money into Shop with a Cop because they're seeing the impact it is making in these families in our community. Just was it last week? I think Captain Fuss and Captain King, we had um, a donor come in and give Captain Fussell to the Norfolk Police Officers Association $7,500 towards Shop with a Cop, which adds 50 more kids this year to go and attend Shop with a Cop. It's amazing. And again, it's one of the best moments, best times for us to be out there. Um, and the Santa Surprise Captain Fussell runs with Captain King's team and the rest of the department. That's also an amazing event as well. It just really touches your heart during a time of need.
Well, and I'm going to slide over to Captain Fussell because you got all the police officers that are patrolling our area. I know the connection, and Deputy Chief just described the connection to the community. Can you talk about your officers and how they look at this program and how they, I think, relate it back to the citizens throughout the year?
So I'd like to highlight something that not many people realize happens within our police department. And we are, as supervisors, we see it happening, and it's just magical. Sometimes our officers go out to different calls and they see different people have different needs, and they're helping these families out during the holiday season. Whether it's changing a light bulb out or you know someone needs a Christmas tree. We've had so much goodness come from our officers to these families, and it's just so heartwarming to be able to see that happen. And they don't, it's almost like we catch them doing it because they're not doing it for attention or anything like that. So they're doing it for the right reasons, and they just really enjoy working in our community. And it's building bridges with our community policing unit and with our entire staff, with organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and the business partners that we have, Business Networking International. There's different organizations that we have such solid partnerships with that they hands down want to join hands with us to help out these families. They know 100% of what they donate goes to the needs of these families, and it's just a magical, safe opportunity for people to partner with, and we're honored.
Fantastic. Captain King, do you have anything to add into this on your units and how they respond to this and what that means to them?
I mean, the community policing unit it's what they live for each year. I mean, we prepare for it and we use it probably, I would say, 4 to 5 months out of the year, even though it's a week worth of work when we're out there. And these guys put their heart and soul into fundraising and working with the schools in the city to identify the best kids to help out. And to Deputy Chief's credit, he actually has increased that and tried to help more kids each year. So the more money we do get, is more kids we can help. So the partnerships that we've raised and, you know, and mentored through now are kind of coming to fruition, basically to give us more for what this community needs.
Well, so I want to approach this a little different in a quick round discussion. The impact that the program has, we all feel and we all know. Are there any, and I'll start with Deputy Chief, are there any special stories that you remember that have been impactful to either a citizen or an officer during Shop with the Cop?
I have a story, and I know this story from many years ago. But I'll give you two. Not this year, but the year before. Shop with a Cop was on, and I had bumped into a citizen, a child who was no longer a child, but several years prior he was a child, and who was a recipient of Shop with the Cop. And that person came up to me while I was in Walmart doing Shop with a Cop, and basically I didn't remember him, but he remembered me. That's what's the beauty part of that, because you see so many kids to where it impacted them, to where they said that they always remembered that moment walking with the police officers, going shopping for his brother and his sister and his mom and his dad, and that moment forever is ingrained in his life, to where now he wanted to give back. He had a successful job, and he gave money that night for a family for Shop with a Cop, because
Wow.
he was paying it forward. So another story, just to tell you how impactful these kids at these age was. He's now a police officer, but it was a story way back when the sheriff's office was doing like Santa Surprise or Shop with a Cop. These moments that are impactful to the young children is that they used kind of like what Captain Fussell does with Santa Surprise. Santa comes to your house, you know, officers dressed up, whether they come out of a car or the helicopter. But there was a incident that back then Assistant Chief Pelfrey had told me, where he had gone as an officer deputy out to a kid's house and came as Santa, because the family didn't, you know, have a lot of money, and they brought gifts. And several years later, the Assistant Chief Pelfrey was on an oral board with this young kid, and he starts talking about a past incident, why he wanted to become a police officer. Starts telling this story back many years ago, how the sheriff's office came, the person, you know, brought gift, it was the sheriff's office, and it was Santa, and he wanted to be part of that and give back to the community. And that person sitting across from him on the oral board, Assistant Chief Mike Pelfrey, was actually Santa Claus. So that's, some of these stories are really powerful. I got to experience that. Of course, Assistant Chief Pelfrey got to experience that one, but those are the ones that will, these kids in this, we don't think it's much, we think it's much impact, but it's like 100 times more to the children that we're helping during Shop with the Cop.
Captain Fussell, do you have any?
I do. One that comes to my mind first was I believe it was last year. I shopped with this little boy, and we spent the entire time walking around talking. He loved talking about just facts, the history facts, and you know, he was just a really brilliant young man. And we spent the entire time walking around, and he wanted to spend most of his time just talking to another male figure in his life. His father wasn't home. It was a broken family, and I later learned that from his mother that there's no real other man that, you know, he looks up to or talks to on a day-to-day basis. So it was really heartwarming that he took that opportunity to, you know, talk and try to bond with another guy, another man. So it was more about the bonding and building the relationships than it was about buying the gifts for him. And it was really special.
So were you in uniform?
That was, yes, sir.
So there's more to that than you just said because of the uniform. Because it's one of the hardest things to kind of break the barrier down is the fear of an officer a lot of times. So that's also the importance of this program, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. We don't encounter we encounter the public mostly on critical incidents or times of tragedy. So we use this as an opportunity to pat these young men and women on the back and spend time with them. They smile. They see that we're real people too. We're dads and husbands and wives and moms and whatnot. So yes, definitely.
That's a potential life-changing moment for that child.
Yeah. Sure.
Captain King, you have a story?
So I don't really have a story as much as I have more of a trend that we've seen, especially with our youth. The majority of the children that we walk with, they will spend the money on other family members first before they even start thinking about taking care of themselves.
Good
And
point.
we've gotten to sometimes the register and they've spent all their money and they're like, well, I didn't get anything for myself because I wanted to make sure, you know, we got everybody else in my family. So when you see those, it kind of pulls at your heartstrings and you're like, all right, let's go. Now you and I are going and we're going to go just do what you need and then come back. So this way, they get to do what they need to for their family, but they also get to experience, some gifts for themselves too when it was done out of like not being selfish. So that when you see that with the majority of the kids, that gives you hope for our future.
So have any of you now you Deputy Chief, you talked about the child that has grown up and then gave back. Uh, Captain Fussell, I'm not going to talk about the money give back, but your connection with the youth in our city goes back a long, 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 long way because my boys know exactly who you are and what you did and what you did at the school. So, in saying that, our youth of today, what would you tell the parents about the interaction with the youth and what you learned and why this program is so important to connect the younger generation to the program? And then I also want you to talk about the after effect of it when these, because you know a lot of these kids, you were there when they were in school and you now see them as adults. Talk about that connection back.
That's a really good question, John, and I think it's critically important in our industry that we build those bridges with the youth. It is the future of our community that we serve and that we work with and that we live in. And it's first of all, we want the trust to be there. We want these young men and women to be able to reach for a man or woman in uniform whenever they're going through something or they need to report something. It's like the Do the Right Thing program where we um, highlight the wonderful acts and deeds by the students in our schools. That's really what we're trying to do. And as they grow up and become adults in our community, not only like the deputy chief said that could create good candidates for in our department in the future, but if they're business owners or if they see something, they know how to reach out to law enforcement or how to, they know the trust level is there and it just works really well. It's really important and critical for us to have a good relationship with the community that we serve, and we take it very serious. And it's just part of the component that we have our strategically where, that's what we want to do.
And Captain King, can you talk about that same effect where you've seen the youth kind of grow through Northport and the effect of them becoming young adults, maybe even young parents?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we've seen it where we actually have a few officers that have started off,
Yep.
as young youth that we've kind of mentored and seen grown up, and now they work for us that used to be explorers. My thing is to the parents is keep doing what you're doing. I mean, our community, our youth is very positive. Um, what we need from those parents is just to keep pushing that direction. Just keep telling your youth, your kids, that do the right thing, do what you know is right, and in the end, it'll all end up the way it needs to be.
So I'm gonna slide away from that topic, and I'm gonna slide into kind of throwing it at Deputy Chief for a second. Is there any hot topic besides Shop with the Cop that you would like to discuss?
For the month coming up, other events or
Yeah, or anything starting a new year, just the twist on things. There's so many things that we ended the year with. How like we talked about the new station, we talked about the need and why we've done all those things, but kind of give an overview of the year of and what we should expect for 25.
I think overview of the year is just our resiliency here as far as what we've gone through back from even Hurricane Ian, the impact of our storms, the challenges we faced. We got very fortunate this year with some storms. We were able to give back. I think one of our greatest moments was, both captains can attest to, is that we got to help Tampa PD out that took a bad beating this year, Hurricane Milton. And they were the first units here to help us when we called for like a mayday when we needed help. And they were the last ones to leave. So I think we were a very fortunate, a very strong community to give back and help other communities. But we're a growing, evolving city. And I think moving into the new year, that momentum needs to keep going. And we, the agency, need to keep doing what we've always been doing, is keeping up with our growth and making sure that we provide the most adequate and efficient resources to public safety for our community that is growing by the week. And when I say by the week, I'm telling you that, like, Public Works is telling us that they're averaging 55 new residencies a week with new garbage totes being delivered.
That's
So
great.
that's crazy. That's huge. So we are still growing, and we're going to continue to grow. And we just need to make sure we are keeping up with it. We're hard chargers, which we have a great team here, and we just need to continue that focus into 2025.
Captain Fussell, do you have kind of an overview of what your unit has done this year and kind of where you're talking about for 25?
Well, I support the deputy chief and the chief in the direction the agency is going. And, we as a command staff, we stand behind a unified message and a unified approach to the direction that we intend on going. So that's our goal. That's my goal as a patrol captain, and continue, promoting the professional service to the community we serve. That's our goals.
Captain King, you got anything to add there?
I mean, we're all on the same page. We kind of work very well together. I think in the future, obviously, we're going to try to work on keeping the crime reduced down, try to increase the traffic safety for people traveling through the city, and just make sure everybody has fun when they come to Northport. Speaking of fun, for coming up in January of 2025, we will be doing our National Night Out reschedule on January 14th. So the night of January 14th will be the reschedule since the hurricane and the weather kind of stopped the first one in October.
So we'll hit that topic again the first week of January.
Yep.
Fantastic. And that's an important part of the National Night Out is, I want you to hit that for a second, because one, it's a night out, but why are you doing it? Why is National Night Out a good connection for, I believe, the parents and the police department.
Right. It's a great way for the community and the law enforcement to kind of see each other in a normal setting. Let them see each other and talk normal and common, ground, and not have to do during actual calls for service. Or like when Joe kind of touched on earlier, when someone's going through a critical incident or a bad part of their life. Come out, enjoy the night. You don't have to pay for anything. Come out and enjoy the neighbors, the police department, get some free food, have some games and stuff for the kids. Let them see us as human beings and enjoy a night of fun.
You know, that hot topic of community involvement or community engagement. You guys do that. I think at an epic level. I grew up in a small community. We had a one police officer, 2 cop cars running around. We got to know, everybody on the police force in my small community. But I still have memories of the engagement they had with all of us youth, the handing out of suckers every once in a while, or even on Halloween night, making sure we were out having fun. And back in the day, we played hide and seek with the police officers, and they actually shined the light on us and had a good time with it. And talked about it at the ball field where we all went. So they all showed up there too. So they were doing all of those in our small little town. They're doing all those things that you guys actually do at a bigger level. And I think a lot of adults in our town have stories like mine that they've engaged with police officers over the years. I think it's super important for community engagement because it takes that barrier down that police officers have of that fear factor that I always talk about. Is I always get worried when you're behind me because I'm afraid the light's getting flicked on. I'm waving at some of the guys because I know I'm like, don't do it, it's me. But guess what? It happens. We all go through life and we all have these moments, but that engagement changes the police force as a whole, doesn't it, Captain King?
Mm-hmm. It does. And it kind of opens up your eyes on both sides for, not everyone that you're going to encounter when you're in the law enforcement side is going to be a bad person. And not every, person that you encounter that's from the civilian side as a law enforcement officer, not all of us are all the same. We all have, like kind of Captain Fussell said earlier, we're all husbands, brothers, sons, mothers, daughters, we're people too with families, and we want them to feel comfortable to come to us and talk about anything.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So I want to go around because I've got great leaders from our police department, and we've got just a little bit of time left. But I want to talk about what's really tough this time of year for a lot of people, and it's the mental health side of things. And I think it's important to talk about because there's mental health within the community and there's mental health within the police department. There's 2 sides of this because of the stress level you guys are at, and it's a different stress across the board, but it's still stress, and you guys carry it different. So I'm going to start out with Deputy Chief. I want you to talk about the importance of the mental health side of things and the balance that you guys work on within the police department itself as a whole, as a leadership crew. What's your take on that balance?
So, law enforcement officers are, they're, how do I put this? They see so much, right? So their emotions are held in of what they deal with stress, stress management, so on and so forth. Our department with Chief Garrison has taken strides to give more awareness of more of an avenue for officers to speak if they're having mental stress or anything like that in the job, because the job is pulling it on what they see throughout their career. But a lot of officers and captains can contest to this, that they keep to it a lot to themselves, um, and they move on to the next. But it's our job as officers, co-workers, friends, uh, and even family members within the department to look after each other. I always tell our guys, we're with each other more than we're with our family as officers. We spend more time with each other
Yeah.
on the job than we are with our families. And it's important that we all know each other, look after each other. There's been instances where, officers have done in a roll call briefing, seen someone wasn't acting right, brought it to the supervisor's attention, and was able to have some interaction to help that officer during a time of need. So we have, as a department, have implemented a basically a CISM team, and Captain King, his unit, oversee that, and he can touch a little bit about that. But it's helped us out in critical incidences or just single instances where officers are in need of assistance, and the team has been there to help them and guide them through. So there's been some good success stories on that, and we're continuing to add more resources to officers' mental health because that's becoming a very, very growing trend in the law enforcement field.
Sure it is. Sure it is. I've got plenty of years, 20 years of medical, and I worked level 1 trauma. It wasn't until the last few days where I started talking about stories that I had dealt with being in the trauma unit, and it was because I watched some shows about police officers and what they see and what they go through, and the mental side of things. And this time of year, I keep coming back to it, but it seems like it's always the holidays that kind of shine through on situations like that. And it's good to know that the police force, I mean, you guys are great leaders. You guys are doing great things within the police department. And it's just good to know that you're doing that aspect of it too for the police officers.
Absolutely. And not just to use the word police officers, also it's for, we don't want to leave out our unsung heroes, is our telecommunicators.
Yes,
they are the first line of response and heroism to any situation that someone's calling for. They have to endure everything that's heard. So we also, what we do on every incident, we always make sure the captains oversee that they're debriefed, everyone's checked on, and they are followed up on any major critical incident throughout our organization. Our crime scene technicians too, they endure. So it's not, when we say, I know we say police officers very broad, but I always want to make sure it's not the men and women in uniform. It's also those professional staff that are behind the scenes that sometimes or most times go unnoticed.
That was a great point, because you can't take away that the hearing side of a phone call. You can't. Yeah. You can't remove it. It stays there forever. Their screens, the conversation, the words, they stick. They don't go away. And I get it. I give you guys kudos for addressing it and staying on top of it. And I know you're sharp enough to know all that stuff and engage with your. I see all you guys as leaders engaging with staff and everyone that's out there. I want to slide it over to Captain Fussell for a second, because I also want to talk about that on the community side of things too, because we have officers that deal with the mental health side of things that are in our community, and that there's stress levels and we talk about stress levels, and I think they're all different, because when you're dealing with the human side of things, that it can escalate into something else. But there's some mental health issues that are dealt with every single day, over and over, sometimes in the same scenario. How do you guys handle that?
Well, with the mental health and the calls for service that we respond to, we definitely, we're very sensitive. We have a sensitive approach on making sure that everybody's safe. We just want everybody to be safe. This time of year definitely is more sensitive for people, that have lost loved ones, or that have had experiences, around the holidays, it can reopen the wound. And, we do see it with our officers that they're out there and they communicate, they communicate with the public. And part of it is, they try to understand and give empathy to whatever situation that, the community member's going through. So, we do try to offer them as much help as we can.
Captain King, you have anything to add?
As far as the CISM with the internal employees, our biggest thing is just to let them have a voice. Sometimes they feel like they can't talk. We try to let them choose members of our team that they feel the most comfortable with, because the more that they can open up, the more resources we can get them, and the quicker we can get them back to feeling normal again.
Fantastic. I talked about that because all these holidays that are coming up, whether it be the Thanksgiving past, the Christmas, I love the fact that you threw in the word empathy. I love the fact that Captain King, you threw in the deaths of family members and how that dredges things up. And it does with a lot of people. And there's a depression that comes with that with a lot. The mental health side of things, I know that the Deputy Chief and I have talked about this before. And to me, it's a big topic, because it definitely, I think, also makes it real when we have these conversations back to the community, because there's mental health issues within every department, fire department, when they see things, the medical side of things, when they see things. It's not picking on any one incident, but it's everyone who's ever dealt with a traumatic scenario. And the odd thing out for a lot of police officers is you don't know what their odd trauma is when you're walking into it. And so you guys have a multi-level, you have to have a multi-level approach for your safety of your, and the training that goes into that. I would love to talk about that at a later date, because I think that's important, because you guys work really hard at staying like at an A game with everything. I just, Deputy Chief, do you have anything to add in there before we go out and close?
No. Just like you said, I think you say we're on our A game, is that I'm probably, I couldn't be more proud of, as far as this department, but as far as how we train, where we're at with our training, staying on the top of the best trends, and hopefully maybe in some segments down the road we can share that with you, John, in some podcast we can kind of show you with our training unit and get you involved in that. But one of the things, just kind of spin off on that real quick, I know we have a few minutes, but both my captains here recently graduated, as I did back in 2021, I believe, was from Smith, which is the Senior Management Institute for Policing, through PERF. It's a very prestigious executive management course to take throughout the country. They hold 4 sessions a year, 200 in a class, I believe, right, Tom? 200 in a class, and, or is it 100?
100.
100 per, they go together. So it's
right.
100.
So 100 in a class, a session across the entire country, and you get to meet all different types of agencies, executives. You are with them. You get to, some of them, up to 3 or 4 of them, you get to actually board a room with at the academy or the Boston University, and that's where it's hosted at. And I can tell you right now, I know when I went and got to see how other agencies are operating, where they're at, some big agencies, mind you, across the country, some of their challenges, struggles, and issues. I can tell you, by the time they came to me with my agency in my class, it was like my serious issues was really petty to what all these other agencies were facing and enduring during that time when I was in my class. And that was in 21. And I came back to this agency very proud and humble that we were following the best practices out there in the law enforcement community at our agency, and everybody else was nowhere near that. Many agencies were not. So I don't know if Captain King and Captain Plus can share the same experience that they had that, but I just remember going there, having that experience. I was very proud. Chief Garrison went. He had the same feeling. We sent the 2 captains this year. And if you guys want to share a little bit about your experience there up in Boston with all the other agencies that you were with, talk about our agency compared to theirs, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, Chief, I had the same experience. You know, there were out of the 100 plus of my class, a number of the agencies were under a consent decree where, you know, you had the Department of Justice had oversight over the department, and to hear you know, some of the experiences that they were going through, you know, it makes me really proud. You know, a lot of people, a lot of leaders build themselves on how to go into an agency and make it successful. Well, I could tell you one of my biggest profound experiences was those people would not do well here because we're already a successful agency. We're already doing things right. We're doing things, you know, we're leading our industry, and you know, it made me very proud of what we do here. So Northport's really lucky with the agency and the service that you know, how serious we take it. You know, we're very proud of what we do.
Fantastic. Captain King?
Yeah, I mean, on the same token, I mean, when we have Joe and I sat in 2 different classes, which was kind of nice because you got to see 200 people combined when we were done. But some of those conversations you have in there with 100 other people from different agencies, like the deputy chief said, that are small or large agencies, and you sit there and listen to them, and you're like, well, we know how to fix that. We know how to work through those problems. And you sit there and that sharing, you know, that networking that you created was great. But to sit there and go back and go, you know, later in the night or, you know, towards the end of the session, Joe and I would be talking and we'd be like, well, did you come up with this? Because we've already been dealing with that issue and we've already fixed it. And some of these other larger agencies didn't know what to do. So, you know, the school itself was great for the networking and to kind of, like the deputy chief said, to humble us and go, you know, we are in a great agency and a great community that, you know, we're directed in the right way right now for the future to grow.
Well, we've got just about 2 minutes left, and I want to make sure I highlight again Northport Pride, whether it's the city hall, whether it's the fire department, and definitely in the Northport Police Department. Northport Pride is unbelievable and unbelievably strong. I have so much pride when I talk to you guys and when I talk to the fire department, when I talk to City Hall. Leadership, I think we're at an epic time with our city, with the leadership we have within our walls. And I say this a lot because Lee Gross, we've got Mick McHale who does things at the White House. We got Dr. Gross, who is at the White House and will be back there again and doing great things with his business. And there's just so much happening. We've got, you know, all kinds of things that are just percolating in our city. And yet the humble side of the police department is you're here talking about it today. And Shop with a Cop is a great connection back to our citizens. And I give you guys kudos for that.
Thank
you, John.
You're very welcome. So you guys have a blessed holiday. If I don't talk with you, this is John Rawlings with WKDW Radio 97.5 Real Talk, saying thanks to our sponsors, Allstate, Remax Palm Realty, and Lions Title. They've done a great job for me, and I really appreciate their efforts. So give them all the love you can too. Thank you guys and have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, John.